Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sea Morning Show right here on Sea today. Yes, we're jumping in fast to our second discussion of the day. We're coming to the last hour of the program as we will deep deep into the critical role marine life plays in combating climate change. Now, from coral reefs to the vast ecosystem of the ocean, we will explore how underwater wonders help regulate our climate and what happens when they are threatened.
Exactly, Carol. Now, joining us today isn't only you and I, Carol.
Yes.
Because the Indian Ocean Rim Association, Blue Economy, and Blue Carbon Hub National Focal Point official Andres Hutahayan, as well as climate reality leader Ari Adi Pratomo, they will give us more of an insight on how marine life impacts our climate change.
Indeed.
So good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. Now, I told you a little bit, backstage. I thought that there was a typo, Caroline, in the way that the sentence was formed. Because it says marine life's impact on climate change.
Yeah.
Normally the discussion would be climate change on marine life.
Correct.
Right? So can you tell us both what is the difference in that regards and what does marine life play in a role for climate change?
Okay, thank you, Jasmine. The important thing for marine life, I think we know, so far people are thinking how the impact of the climate change to marine life. But in reality, marine life have significant impact to regulate our climate system, especially ocean.
Yep.
Ocean, about 70% of our Earth
Yes.
covered by ocean.
Yep.
That's right.
So it means ocean, the blue planet called, is controlled by the ocean and then also by land. And what is inside marine life? Both animals or vegetation.
Yeah.
Vegetation, of course, they absorb the CO2
Yeah.
and through the photosynthesis process, and then release oxygen to our Earth system.
Yeah.
That's why this process called the blue carbon.
Yes.
And about 40% of our CO2 on Earth being stored in the ocean. So it's big pool of the CO2.
Yes,
Massive.
that's right.
Yeah.
And hence that's why, if we have a healthy, ocean and a healthy blue ecosystem, then we also have a good life right here on Earth, right?
Land.
So it's very important, very pivotal what's happening right there down under. In regards to this, so what are the primary ways, Paari, that marine animals and ecosystem contribute, especially to the climate regulation?
Okay, so I myself is a diver, scuba
Yeah.
diver.
Ah.
And actually, the way it's just not seeing those animals, beautiful animals down there,
Yeah.
but actually understand their roles here. In terms of climate change and also environment, sometimes if you wonder where are the oxygens in the earth coming from,
Yes.
they're not just coming from the trees, but they're also regulated, almost 50% of them regulated by what we call the phytoplankton. Phytoplankton is a small plankton that lives in the surface of the waters and up to a few meters below. And they actually regulates 50% of or generate 50% of the oxygens in the earth. And they also digest the CO2 that cause the climate change as well. And another example is how the animal of the sea actually can absorb the carbon dioxide. For instance, the whale, the blue whale,
Yes.
during their lifespan, they can actually absorb almost 30 tons of carbon dioxide.
Wow.
And when they die, they will sink on the ocean floor and
Right.
it will remain there. So they will bring the carbon dioxide with them
Oh my
over
goodness.
there.
Okay.
Compared to the tree, they probably can only absorb 0.05 tons of the carbon dioxide
Yeah.
annually. So you can see the comparisons.
Yes.
And actually, when Andrea said before, when people are thinking about the mitigation of climate change is just land-based, we have to start thinking about mitigation of the climate change from the ocean.
That is something that we are not.
We don't
I mean,
think about that.
I am not aware of that because I think it's very common when we think let's plant trees, let's plant
Exactly.
trees.
Yeah.
Well, of course we have to do that on the land, but
Yeah.
also we need to mitigate and reinforce for the ocean side too.
Yeah, so I do have a question with that because I think both of you mentioned about CO2 and all these things. Could you explain a little bit more what it means to have a carbon sequestration? Because I'm not familiar with that term yet.
Yeah, carbon sequestration is a process that how much carbon being absorbed by vegetation
Yeah.
through the photosynthesis process.
Right.
So, and there's absorb and then release oxygen.
Yes.
And then remaining carbon, because oxygen is O2 and then carbon is C, to their growth.
Yeah.
That's why we can see, for example, mangrove or seagrasses or phytoplankton or seaweed growing very well
Yeah.
in the ocean.
Yeah.
So in Indonesia, we are quite lucky in the tropical ocean.
Yes.
We have those kind of, we call it blue carbon ecosystem. We have the largest of mangrove ecosystem, as well as the seagrass.
Yes.
We have a very productive seaweed,
Yeah.
and also phytoplankton here. So, especially for the mangrove.
Yes.
So, our research found that the mangrove, particularly in the East Kalimantan, in Delta Brau, one of the largest, the highest sequester carbon globally, is about almost 2,000 gram carbon per year being absorbed by this ecosystem. You can imagine
Yes.
about almost 2 kilogram per meter square. So it's big number,
Yeah.
big
Right.
number. So you can multiply by 1 hectares,
Yes.
and then you can scale up what our mangrove is about roughly 3.1 million hectares. So it's big number. So that's why Pak Ari mentioned earlier that mitigation from the ocean side or coastal side is key for Indonesia to achieve the Article 6 of the Paris Agreement.
Yes, and especially that has become it has been the government kind of program, not only for the last
bind-
presidencies, right, and the era. It becomes like a yearly and also a program for every presidency about mangroves right here in Indonesia. And what about the coral reefs then, Pa Andreas?
Yeah, coral reef during their life process, they have mutual symbiosis through the zooxanthella. Zooxanthella actually is vegetation. So coral reef itself is animal. It belongs to the Anthozoa, the class. So as the animal, coral reef absorb CO2 and absorb oxygen for their growth and release CO2. That's so-called respiration. But during the process, they have mutual symbiosis with the zooxanthella who produce oxygen. So the importance of the coral reef here is a strong buffer for seagrass and mangrove vegetation from the strong wave, and also prevent the erosion.
Yeah.
And also another source of the fish for the bluefoot security, and many biodiversity live there. And this is one of the important assets for Indonesia that need to be conserved, protect, and restore.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, I have a question. You talked a little bit about the Paris Agreement, right? And the Paris Agreement essentially is about it's a non-binding regulation between different United Nations conventions and states who talked about the increase in temperature due to climate change.
Right.
Now, the increase in climate change was said to be +2 Celsius, right? So could you explain a little bit how marine life could impact the decreasing of that number instead to counter off the progression that we're going in terms of having to a critical point in climate reversal?
Pa Ari or Pa
Okay.
Andres? Yes.
Okay, so I can start first, maybe.
Yes.
So probably we have to also understand that the role of the ocean is not just absorbing the excess carbon dioxide, but they also excess heat.
Yes.
So just like the land base, they absorb the carbon dioxide and all other greenhouse gases and release oxygen,
Yeah.
and also provide the different temperatures, the scaling down of the temperatures. It also happened the same at the sea, but the capacity of the sea to basically absorb the CO2 and also produce oxygen and also reduce the heat is limited if we do not have any kind of effort to assist the oceans in defending our Earth.
Right.
Therefore, it's very important, based on the IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, they also recognize the importance of the oceans
Yeah.
as one of the aspects to mitigate the climate change.
Yeah.
Therefore, since several years ago, like United Nations Environment Program and many others, they're also concerned about how to basically protect the oceans. They have like program like fight against the ocean debris, plastic debris, and
Yeah.
many others that actually damaging the oceans. It's just sad to me that we as a human maybe not realize the role of the ocean, the importance of the ocean. Sometimes, like if I dive, like the last time I dove in Maluku, I saw on the 40 meters below, there are tons of plastic over there.
Yeah.
And I was like shocked because I could found like women's pad over there, stuck between the corals.
Really?
Down all the way
Right.
40 meters. And I thought it was like, whoa, it's something new here. So those things are maybe some of the small actions that we don't even really care about throwing your garbage and think nothing about it.
Yes.
But the
Small
impact
action,
are
but huge impact, no?
long-lasting.
Exactly.
Right. So definitely this is what we're seeing also, but you know, again, as we know that there are policies that changes enhance the role of marine ecosystem in addressing the climate change. In regards to this, Paari, what's your take on this?
Well, the Indonesian government has actually recognized the importance of the oceans and its ecosystem.
And the blue economy too
And the
now,
blue economy
it's in
too.
progress, yes.
Therefore, it is important for us as a people to as an also consumer, to think wisely every day on how we are making our choices, on how we are going to impact our earth. Because maybe we not realize that each of us has what we call it the carbon footprint on how we are impacting our earth. So making wise choices every day is important for us, including on how it's affect the ocean as well.
Yes.
So aside from that, the Indonesian government has also recognized the importance of the oceans by including the mangrove ecosystem in what we call the enhanced nationally determined contributions. Those are the promises made by Indonesian government to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. To basically, we're going to do this and this to mitigate the climate change and stop the reductions or reduce the emissions. And also there are many other programs like the Low Carbon Development Initiative and also National Plastic Action Plans that has been taken by the government. But again, it needs support from the public.
Yes.
If we do not support the government, any kind of regulations will not be effective.
It works both ways.
Yes, it works both ways.
So I do have a question for Pa Andreas, actually. So, you know, with blue sustainability and all these things, there's also blue economy that's happening in Indonesia, especially with the amount of resources that we have in terms of fisheries, marine life, and so forth, that is seen throughout the whole world, right? And there's a lot of cases nowadays where illegal fisheries are still happening in our waters. So could you tell us a little bit of the impacts that those illegal fishery has on our waters and especially on our corals and so forth?
Yeah, thank you. I think the mine conserve, since it's illegal, they break the rule anyway. There's no compromise for this. And what are the impact to our marine ecosystem? Of course, usually most of them are unregulated of using the gear of catching the fish, something like that. So somehow they are using this unregulated gear that can cross the seafloor where the coral reef, for example, live there. Something. And everything inside the sea, they caught big fish, small fish, juvenile or small. They are taking all of them and destroy the seafloors. So this kind of behavior, I think, is very, very critical for our future Earth and also generation that we need to be considered. Because again, with the current presidency, food security is one of the key point for this next 5 years. And the blue food need to be considered more. The food coming from the ocean, because anyway, we have 75% of ocean in our waters.
Yes.
We're surrounded by ocean.
We're surrounded by ocean. We have 17,000 islands.
Yes.
But everything is surrounded by ocean. So ocean is good as our new land for how we could able to utilize in the sustainable way to generate what we call it the regenerative blue economy. So thinking about the production and also economic perspective, at the same time thinking also about the ecological aspect. So combine this will bring our 70% of our waters becoming productive.
Well, I mean, definitely our marine affected a lot of sectors. Would that be food
course.
security and then also the energy sector
Yeah.
and also tourism?
Yep.
And it really applies to every industries right here in Indonesia. But in regards to that, though, Pa Andreas, and also if you can add on, Pa Ari, how is the marine ecosystem right in Indonesia? We've been talking, that we
Yeah.
need to preserve, we have to sustain, but how is it in realistically right now in the
How do
year
you do
2024?
it?
Yes, and how is it done? Because Jasmine mentioning about illegal activities, not mentioning the public and the locals that we're still
Or even
some are
overfishing.
trying to be better, but we're still not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, government have a good program, so-called marine protected area, established a big number because under UN Conservation Biodiversity Agreement, we have agreement to protect our water 30 by 45. So 30% in 2045.
Okay.
So this big number compared to our area. And of course, when we are protecting this area, so if the process inside that already being destroyed, for example, the coral reef, for example, or mangrove ecosystem or seagrass ecosystem. So the government now doing the restoration or rehabilitation of this coastal ecosystem. In fact, for example, one of the largest thing during the COVID pandemic in 2020, when the government introduced or released the program so-called National Economic Recovery for Indonesia Coral Reef Garden. This program dedicated to restore the the coral reef ecosystem in Bali areas at the time as one solution for economic recovery program. And this is one of the largest on earth. It's covered about 73.4 hectares and employ more than 10,000 people.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, this is called working together among different stakeholders like Marves and also KKP and as well as LIPI, before it's LIPI, not BRIN, and also local government and universities. And so this is a good movement of the nature-based solution that need to be scaling up to the Indonesia size. Yeah, not Bali only.
Yes, right.
Yeah, Indonesia
The
size.
national scope, right.
Yeah. Indonesia size means from Sabang sampai Merauke.
Correct.
So we need this.
It could be the prototype, but then other regions can follow along too.
For sure, for sure. But, when it comes to these sort of animals that we use in terms of for our food security and so forth, for example, not to mention lobsters. Lobsters are a very intricate species of crustaceans. They eat they're very picky eaters, that's one thing. And the second thing is that they can't survive in a lab-grown environment like any fish do. There's a lot of information out there that we find that a lot of illegal fisheries for lobsters are occurring in Indonesia. Now, how would the government play an important role to prevent these sort of illegal fisheries happening and to maintain a steady security protocol to ensure that our waters are safe?
Yeah, this is maybe policymaker can answer better, but I just give a brief. Of course, the government have regulation how to bring added value from the mariculture, from the aquaculture sector.
Yeah.
So instead of export the juvenile 1 or 2 centimeters to Vietnam or China or other countries, so why are we not growing up here in Indonesia, then selling outside or to other region like Bali or Jakarta, something like that. So because the value, again, with the current government, I think we are thinking about how we could able to bring the additional value to our products, to reduce, to bring the money more in the Indonesia side. Because anyway, if we are export the juvenile of the lobster abroad, and maybe they export the big one to us. And if one...
We end up paying more, really.
Yeah, we pay more. So this kind of ecosystem, for sure, is unhealthy.
Economically as well for us.
Yeah, and also for the ecosystem. Yeah. And then for the fishermen, remember, one of the poorest people are located in the coastal
area.
environment.
Yes. I mean, hopefully that when we're seeing that there's a lot of progress and also pressure, especially coming from the government, especially in regards to this blue economy and marine's life. But now we're going to shift to Paari
Yes.
in regards to what the community, what the locals can do for us to support the marine's conservation.
And what we can do, we're not in the local community.
Yeah.
Yeah. First thing first is that we have to understand that we are making impact on our Earth, either positively or negatively. It's your choices. So first, by understanding where are the resources are coming from, including our fishes, where are the clues coming from, and understanding how we are obtaining it. For instance, there are actually so many certificates now that support the sustainability, including like the marine MSC. It's for the marine products. If you're consuming products with MSC, it will be definitely from sustainable fisheries,
Okay.
not from illegal fisheries.
Yeah, yeah.
Or, for instance, any other products like from the RSPO for the palm oil. Those are also supporting the sustainability method of harvesting the productions, basically.
Okay.
And secondly, to also understand that even a small deeds matters. For instance, like probably if you are having like any kind of celebrations, your birthday, you could actually, instead of just celebrate it somewhere with the cakes and everything, why don't you start to celebrate it with adopting coral?
Okay.
You can adopt coral.
Yes, there are so many organizations now that actually help you to adopt coral.
Can you
Okay.
mention some so our viewers can also look into that?
There are, I don't remember off the top of my head, but there are several different organizations that provide you with the corals.
Yeah.
They will plant it on behalf of you
Oh, wow.
somewhere else, and they will report
Right.
to you.
Yeah.
And then you can see actually after several years how they will
Growing.
grow.
That's
So-
amazing.
Yes, it's amazing, including in Bali and Karimun Jawa and many other
Right.
aroas.
Also in Thousand Islands.
And Thousand
Alright.
Islands.
It's
of
near.
Africa.
It's
Yeah,
nearby.
very
It's right here, Greater Jakarta.
Yeah, so actually those are the small things that you can do.
Right.
And also to basically how to divide your trashes between the recyclable and non-recyclable.
Yes.
And actually it's actually help.
Okay.
And then probably to give your plastic waste to some companies that basically they will process it further
Right.
and prevent it to go to the sea.
Right.
Because
And some can you be reused also for plastic,
yes,
right?
for so many other
Yes.
products. So if you're thinking that recycling is just like, oh, you're putting this, plastic bags,
Yeah.
Yes.
and you're using it for your clothing and everything, it's nothing like that anymore.
Yeah.
You can use it as furniture. Even they can recycle as a brand new clothing.
Attire. That's
So
right. That's right.
making the economic more circular instead of a linear economic and moving towards green and blue economics from the brown economics that is heavily depending on coal is one of the way that we can actually push the government as a communities and also the member of the public.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
That's fascinating to know.
Oh, it's so great to have Pa Andres and Pari. We're very.
Thank you
It turns
so
out that
much.
we're just. Not only this discussion has become fruitful, but there's so many information that we can dig deeper, and hopefully Pa Andres and also Pa Ari can come again right here
Sure.
to our studio to
Thank you.
convey the
Thank you
messages
so much.
of how marine life impact on climate change. Thank you very much for your time, gentlemen. And right now we're going to take a short break, right, Jess?
Exactly. I'll have more stuff coming up soon for you. So stay tuned only at the C Morning Show at C Today.